Wildcat fans, let's talk Sweet 16.
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. It is I, your host, Damon Fairall. That's my guy, Kevin Thomas. It is the AZ Wildcats podcast. We are presented by our presenting sponsor of Branded Bills. Head on over to brandedbills.com, use promo code BBPHNX, and get 15% off your first order again over at brandedbills.com. Check out the custom collection. If you got something to promote, a small business, check out those Arizona Wildcats hats as well. The best campus collection in the game. But Kevin, big morning. Lots of news flying all around. Lots of things that have a bearing, a standing on the Arizona Wildcats, the Big 12 Conference, and then of course, we got to talk about Arizona's Sweet 16 matchup against Arkansas. Just one game, one day, about 12 hours after last night's post-game show, and I guess maybe more like 16 hours. But it's 1 day removed, Kevin, from moving on in the NCAA tournament. March Madness continues. Took years off my life last night, I think, but we run it back on Thursday.
We sure do run it back on Thursday, and there is quite a talented opponent waiting for us on the other side of the round of 32, and it's Arkansas. We're going to wrap up today's show previewing them a little bit later, also doing some of their strengths and weaknesses. I'll have a video on our YouTube channel that I teased last night that after some discussion with the production crew, we figured actually should just come out today. So be on the lookout for that. I think it's going to drop around 6 p.m. today. So preview Arkansas, full thing, 6 p.m. We're going to break down the team's strengths and weaknesses to wrap up today's show. Also talking about, is Tommy Lloyd finally going to break through? Because last night, I think, showed a lot of guts in terms of what this team has to offer, and you're going to need a whole lot more of that if you're going to make it past the Sweet 16 for the first time under Tommy Lloyd. And to start today's show, Damon, you mentioned it. There's news flying left, right, center, and up north. Randy Bennet has just signed on to become the new head coach of Arizona State men's basketball. I tweeted when Bobby Hurley got fired that I hope his predecessor, makes me laugh just as much as he does. Randy Bennet doesn't make me laugh much at all. This is actually quite a competent hire. This is a very good hire, in my opinion, for Arizona State. And we're going to continue to go around the Big 12 here in a second. But starting off with Randy Bennet to Arizona State, Damon, what are your initial gut feelings as some power shift may be happening in the Big 12 here?
I don't know. I think power shift is a huge exaggeration.
In the mid class. Power shift in the middle class. You know what I mean?
Okay. Is that really power then? I feel like a power shift is when Houston and Arizona join the conference.
I'm just making a verbal transition, brother.
Kansas goes from is this a podcast or not, Kevin? I'm sorry.
You're
Do
right.
you not want me to discuss the things that are said on this podcast?
No, you're right. What are your initial impressions on the hiring of mid-ass Randy Bennet, who's not going to shift powers?
Someone clip that. And post that immediately, please, at Kevo Post. That was not Damon Dog this time. But yeah, I think it's interesting for sure. And it's two more coaches that I have a high level of respect for getting brought into this conference. A guy that we saw last night who is a very serious coach. I said that I think that he outcoached Tommy Lloyd yesterday. And some people, I think, agreed with that opinion. Some people disagreed with that opinion. But I thought that Jerrod Calhoun was, every bit the part in that NCAA tournament second round for a Utah State team that has really dominated its conference and the opponents on its schedule all year long until it ran into a really good Arizona squad. So Jerrod Calhoun, I think, is a great hire for Cincinnati, an upgrade on Wes Miller. And then Randy Bennet is about as structured of a coach as I think there is in college basketball in terms of his style, what he wants to do, consistency year in and year out. And I feel like, to be honest with you, Kevin, that's exactly what a program like Arizona State men's basketball needs, especially when it feels like their investment is going to be diluted by, and I say investment, meaning their investment in like NIL and recruiting and bringing in top level players is going to be a little bit diluted in terms of, upgrading the stadium, upgrading DFA. Some of that money has to go there. Some of that money is going to Molly Miller. They've made a huge deal about Molly Miller and all these reports. Oh, we can't hire a coach until Molly Miller's season is over. Some of the craziest stuff I've ever heard. It seems like women's basketball is getting a piece of that pie. Kenny Dillingham is out here every week asking for money from people, begging for money practically from people. So I feel like a lot of the money is going to be going to other places. So you need a coach that's going to bring in maybe not the highest of level recruits, but still be able to mold them and shape them into the program that he wants to run. So I think that this is a great hire for ASU. I think it's realistically about the best hire that they possibly could have made. This is a guy I've heard that Arizona State has had interest in for a really long time based off of my, very small amount of ASU sources that I actually do have. And I kind of had it like on the peripheral of like, if they do that, I think that's a serious move and a sign of, intention of like, we're trying to really up the level of basketball program that we have here. So, if you're an Arizona State fan, you should be thrilled. And I think this is a great hire for them.
No, yeah, I agree. I think this is a great hire for them. I don't think Randy Bennet is mid, but I do think that this is someone that, like,
just to clarify, that was a joke.
It was a joke.
That was satirical.
He has not lost more than 10 games since 2021. And I think that this, like, as you said, is a guy that comes in, adds structure. He adds a level of pedigree. I know, like, he's not necessarily, like, winning any national titles out there at St. Mary's, but what he's been able to do out there in the WCC is pretty damn impressive considering he's been doing it since 2001. Like, this is not a dude who, he had a couple good years at Buffalo and then all of a sudden we're going to, anoint him as the GOAT. It's like, no, maybe not, right? Randy Bennet has been doing this since 2001 all the way up to 2025, and he has been very successful. He's had how many straight? 4 straight regular season conference championships, a couple conference tournament championships mixed in there as well, multiple NCAA tournament appearances. We're talking about 5 straight. I feel like this is a guy, I was talking to intern Casey out there, who is an Arizona State Sun Devil, about how, like, this is a hire that gets you into that range of expectation of, okay, let's make a tournament. Once a year, let's try to be in there and make a tournament. We talk about how the Big 12 has some of the best coaches across the entire country, pound for pound, and how the brotherhood of coaches, is so strong. And you don't necessarily have that in the SEC, where Todd Golden's taking shots at every other coach in the league, and
Nate Oates is the most unlikable guy on planet Earth.
Exactly, but in the Big 12, however, man, today's news makes it feel like this conference is just going to keep getting tougher. It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, you have Randy Bennet arriving at ASU, a team that we all see as and this is no disrespect beyond what the facts are. This is a perennially bad program of Arizona State, and they don't really have any success outside of James Harden's cool shoes, right? And like, that's just what it is. But Randy Bennet, in my opinion, has a chance to actually get them to some tournaments, actually get them some winning basketball players in the building, as opposed to just guys that are pretty cool and can go through their legs and tween, iso ball. Like, I think Randy Bennett's a great hire for ASU. Jerrod Calhoun to Cincinnati, Damon, I also think is a really strong hire for the Bearcats. You mentioned it last night and in the open of today's pod. He put on a great showing last night. Like, if you were trying to put on a resume, tape to prospective, new bosses, that's about as good of a tape as you can put out for what you can coach, right? Like, the Mountain West team that almost knocked off the number 1 team in the country, and now you have a chance to compete against them twice a year in your own conference. The press that Arizona really struggled to break last night is coming to the Big 12. Like, I think that Cincinnati going from Wes Miller to Jerrod Calhoun is yet to be seen, but I feel like that's an upgrade, right? And I think that Randy Bennet coming to ASU, that is objectively a massive upgrade for the Arizona State Sun Devils. This conference continues to become more challenging. The Big 12 is an unrelenting beast, and these coaching moves, I think, go to underscore that.
Yeah, truly, right? Like, I think that's a great way of putting it. Unrelenting beast. Like, this is a conference that does not stop. It's you're seeing it from a basketball side. This is an arms race. No, I mean, you already have, Tommy Lloyd, Kelvin Sampson, basically doing it better than I think anyone in college basketball is doing it right now. And then you add in like a legend like Bill Self, who's the most accomplished coach in college basketball at the moment. And I feel like, obviously there's been some questions about his return to Kansas next year, what he'll do with his health situation. So we'll stay monitoring on that, because Kansas is going to need a new coach, and they hire nothing short of elite coaches. What does that look like? Is it panic button time a little bit? I tend to think not, but that's something that we might have to start talking about. But you look at other spots in this conference. How about Scott Drew, who has been kind of in the back end of the league in the last couple of years, but is a guy that has a national championship to his resume, Kevin. You look at a coach like
McCaslin.
Yeah, Graham McCaslin.
Team USA assistant.
Yeah, who literally is, I feel like about as Tommy Lloyd coded as it gets, essentially, considering Tommy Lloyd, the way that they talk, the way that they kind of approach the game, the way that they both are on the Team USA team that Tommy is the head coach of, that he brought McCaslin as his, lead assistant as a part of. Otzelberger, fantastic coach, right? Like a guy that has shown nothing but consistency. And so what do these other teams that are on the back end say about, this conference, and what do they need to do? They need to step up and compete. And I do think that both of these are massive upgrades. I think Jerrod Calhoun is a huge upgrade over Wes Miller. I think Wes Miller, clearly he wasn't all bad, considering that his defense was elite. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like Cincinnati had nothing to hang their hat on. I have a lot less respect for a team that is bad at everything or even mid at everything than I do a Cincinnati team that's like, our identity is we're going to defend the hell out of you and make life really difficult. But we can't play offense. But I also think that, what Utah State did all year, that's significantly better than what Cincinnati was running. I even if it doesn't work out with Jerrod Calhoun, I think that, that's a hire with promise. Randy Bennett is a hire that involves a ton of structure to a program that needs it desperately. I think these are huge coaching hires here in the Big 12. And I think that it now sets those two programs up, in my opinion, Kevin, for kind of, and you say rebalancing the structure in the Big 12. And this is, I think, what you meant by it. Like the middle of the pack teams, life just got a whole lot more difficult for you.
That is more so what I meant.
Because
it shuffles that middle class.
Absolutely. Yeah. We know what the top level teams are. It's Arizona. It's Iowa State. It's
Houston.
Texas Tech. It's Houston. It's Kansas. Those teams are going to be consistently the top teams in this conference year in and year out. But what teams can push the envelope like a TCU and make the tournament and win a tournament game, right? And then go play Duke in a pretty tough battle. I mean, I know that they, definitely were outplayed in the second half, but they made things interesting for a little bit. A UCF team that, has a huge resurgence this year under Johnny Dawkins and makes the tournament as well. Like, I think that life got a BYU who went 9-9 with maybe the number one pick in the country. If ASU had Randy Bennett this year, Kevin, and Jerrod Calhoun was at Cincinnati, I think you could make the argument BYU has a losing record in the conference. No? I mean, that's that's the type of situation I think that is now a little bit more under review here in the Big 12 is what are the teams like UCF and West Virginia and TCU, how does this impact them? How do they respond based off of these coaching hires? Because I think that those two programs now kind of elevate themselves into that class of teams.
I think so too. And I think that with these hires, I think it was Banana Clips in the chat was saying it's going to take time for Randy Bennett to do anything at Arizona State. It's not going to be a 6-month reclamation project where you take one of the least successful programs in the conference and you turn them into some sort of success. It is going to take time for him to do that and figure out how to compete in this new conference, because the WCC, as Tommy Lloyd will tell you himself, is not the Big 12. And it does take time to learn this style of basketball. I'm interested to see how that middle class of the Big 12 looks next year, Damon. As you outlined, the UCFs, the Cincinnatis, the West Virginias, all the Oklahoma States, all those teams that are in that competitive but not quite super strong tier.
Steve Lutz. I told Kevin off air before the show started. I think this is the type of moves that like that TOD Steve Lutz 15 minutes ago when Randy Bennett became ASU's head coach, because that's a guy who has to make the tournament, I think, next year to keep his job. You can't go 3 years without a tournament appearance, in my opinion, in the Big 12, if you're serious about your program. And I'm tugging on my neck a little bit right here, being like, brother, I don't think that the sea is parting for you, if you will.
That's fair. I mean, I do think he put together a pretty good stack of talent this year. They did have some tough injuries toward the end of the year. So did everybody else. But yeah, I'm not out on Steve Lutz as of right now. If they have a mess next year, maybe we can have a different conversation. But I think that this year was still promising for Oklahoma State in some ways, not every way, but in some ways. And Roberto, the coffee guy, said it earlier in the chat. Like, I hope that this makes the Big 12 even stronger. And I think that there's no way you could look at these hires that are going on in the Big 12 and not think that next year is going to be even more of a beast than this year. But maybe not necessarily, right? Because as you referenced earlier, Damon, Bill Self, there is some slight updates in that type of news as well. Bill Self was, as Pete Thamel said, setting the table for an upcoming decision on whether or not he'll return to the sideline in wake of health issues. He made clear he loves his job, but, quote, I want to feel good while I'm doing it, end quote, he told reporters in San Diego. So, as we already mentioned earlier on this podcast, it feels like that Kansas job is on a bit of a timer. It feels like that will open up at some point. Now, we know that Kansas is not going to just bring in some, mid-major bum to do that job. They're going to go get one of the best, one of the brightest, whoever it's going to be at that time, at that juncture. I don't think it would be a guy like Tommy Lloyd. I mean, I'm sure they would kick the tires on it. I'm not
going to say call him. Yeah, he might be number one phone call.
They're going to call him, but I don't think that, like, we were joking earlier in the office, you, me, and Ayrton, about how, like, hey, man, like, Tommy Lloyd ain't just leaving for a big bag. Like, this is not a guy that necessarily, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know Tommy Lloyd the way that we think we do. But this is not a guy that, is just going to go, oh, what's the number you're throwing at me? Okay, I'm there. This is a guy who bided his time at Gonzaga, learned everything he could from Mark Few, got the perfect job offer from Arizona, and said, you know what? I'm going to set up shop in Tucson. It doesn't feel like he wants to reset right now. It feels like he just got started in but so many ways, right? 100%. Like, if you're Tommy Lloyd, you must be thinking, okay, we're making a Sweet 16. I have the best team I've ever had. I just got Caleb Holt coming in the door.
We're in the Big 12.
We're in the Big 12. Why would I want to reset in Lawrence? Now, I know if you're a KU fan watching this stream, you're thinking, well, we're the pinnacle. It doesn't get bigger than us. And that's, in many ways, fair. Like, there's not many jobs in the sport bigger than KU. However, Tommy Lloyd, if he's cut from the cloth we think that he is, he's set to try to make Arizona a part of that conversation, as opposed to just going and joining Kansas and doing, kind of doing the front running thing of like, well, they're giving me a big bag and I know I can do everything I did in Tucson and KU, so let's just do that. I think it would have to be somebody else, but I do think they kick the tires on it. I think that if Bill Self retired, you'd start to hear reports of like, Kansas interested in Arizona head coach Tommy Lloyd. Of course. Everyone's interested in Tommy Lloyd. Damon and we're interested in Tommy Lloyd. What did Tommy Lloyd say something today? What was it? I'm interested. Tell me. Everybody wants to know what Tommy Lloyd's doing, but will they get a call back? I don't know, right? Like, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think he loves Tucson. I think he loves everything he's built. And like I said, if I'm Tommy Lloyd, I'm feeling like I just am getting started. But if KU were to open up, Damon, what do you think? Like, off the top of your head, like, that's one of the big, like, those jobs don't open. It's like the Alabama football coaching job. Like, that job does not open very often. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I said in there that there are 4 schools that I think can poach an Arizona coach in men's basketball. It's Duke, it's North Carolina, it's Kansas, it's Kentucky. Those are the only schools that if there's an opening at one of those schools that I'm even sitting there going, okay, red alert. We gotta be on our P's and Q's here, Kevin, to make sure that we're keeping our guy in check. And so, yeah, if there's an opening at Kansas, I think that Kansas would be moronic to not call Tommy Lloyd as the first guy, truly, because as I just said, like, I think him and Kelvin Sampson are doing it better than anyone in college basketball right now. And Kelvin Sampson is 70 plus years old, and Tommy Lloyd is I don't know his exact age, but he's very young for a.
He's like 53, ain't he?
Yeah, I mean, probably somewhere in that range. You can
Tommy
give me
Lloyd
a
is
fact check on
51
that.
years old.
Yeah.
Born in 1974 in Kelso, Washington.
And that's another part of it, right? Like that's a great transition there. He's born in Kelso, Washington. He spent his entirety of his coaching tenure in Spokane. Entirety of it. Until he got the job in Tucson. And he had played games in Tucson before. He said that he looked at this program. Mark Few and him sat down and they looked at and analyzed what Lute Olson did to build this program and make it the top dog in the West Coast. And he said that Arizona was the one job he was leaving the head coach in waiting job at Gonzaga for. And that's what went down. That's what happened. He could have gone to Washington and been the head coach in Seattle, being from an assistant coach at Gonzaga, which is a crazy upgrade in job. And he didn't want it, not even living in his own home state. So you don't think he's going to be extremely particular with what his jobs are now and moving forward? I think you're crazy. I don't mean to like just throw shade at people because I hate when they do that about our place, but like I don't know that Tommy's a Lawrence, Kansas guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me he feels like a West Coast, like I like nature, I like scenery, I like pretty plants and animals and stuff type of dude. No, like he's kind of got that like hippie-ish kind of vibe to him, I feel like. And I don't think the Midwest is that. It's hell on earth from a weather perspective. Like I think that this is home, and you're right. Like leaving now would be crazy. When you feel like you're only beginning your tenure at Arizona, only making it into, what you can shape it and mold it to be. And he always talks about Lute, Sean, me. He says that all the time when you listen to him talk. It started with Lute Olson. He created this program, the foundation of it. He built it. He is everything to Tucson. Sean Miller hit the ground running with that, sustained it, and raised the tide with it. And now it's our turn to mold the program into the shape that we want to, right? And I think it would be insane for him to be as locked in as he has around all of this and then go out the door. I don't think that there's much to be concerned about. Although, as I said, whenever one of those four programs has a job opening, it's a little bit scary. Like when there were rumors about like Calipari going to the NBA when Kentucky was at its height, I was sitting there being like, Kentucky's 100% calling Sean Miller as their first phone call. Why wouldn't they? And Sean Miller, I think, actually probably would take that phone call and take that interview, because he did take a Maryland interview, if you remember correctly. And that's when Arizona was kind of firing on all cylinders. Now, did he do that to get a better contract? Maybe. But Kentucky's a different animal there. You're seeing job rankings, though, Kevin, of like people being like ranked the best college basketball jobs in the country. And like Arizona's like 5th, 6th on these lists. So I think we're kind of splitting hairs there at this point with Kansas versus Arizona. I think Arizona is incredibly set up to succeed. I think Tommy knows that. And yeah, I'm not too concerned when it's all said and done, but you're right. There are going to be probably some reports that come out that are going to make us just sit up in our seats a little bit of like, oh, okay.
100%. Now, Tommy Lloyd, 1, not leaving for Kansas. Tommy Lloyd, 2, one of the best coaches in the country. Tommy Lloyd, 3, one of the only coaches to make 4 Sweet 16s in his first 5 seasons. Damon and I are going to talk more about that and more after our first break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Leave a like, drink your water, don't go anywhere. Triple games, triple the fun. Arizona's hoping to put together triple the wins so far. They have 2 wins through March Madness. You need 6 for the whole damn thing. And if we triple that, we're going to have a whole lot more fun. But with our friends over at Arizona Lottery, now you can play 3 exciting triple-themed games from the Arizona Lottery. Play triple red 7s, triple cash payout scratchers for the chance to win top prizes of $100,000. And triple red 7s fast play has progressive jackpots starting at $30,000. I, for one, my favorite thing about Arizona Lottery, you can get Arizona Lottery practically anywhere. You're going grocery shopping, you're likely to see an Arizona Lottery kiosk. You're going to get gas, you want to head inside for snacks, you can also probably grab an Arizona Lottery scratcher. Find all 3 tickets at a retailer near you.
Love our friends at the Arizona Lottery, and if you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand out from the crowd, there is only one place to go. It is Branded Bills. Kevin and I are both sporting our custom PHNX sports collection, of course, that you can find at the All City store on our website. But guys, the best Arizona Wildcats headwear in the game as well. Kevin and I are always rocking Branded Bills for good reason. They are the most stylish, most comfortable, most form-fitting hats that you will find anywhere on the market, and they have all types of styles. Kevin's rocking a canvas hat, which is part of their brand new canvas collection. I got that classic golf rope hat on. You can get snapbacks, fitteds, beanies, truckers, you name it. They have it, and they have you covered with all different types of styles. And guys, let me tell you, I'm just going to say it again, the best Arizona Wildcats headwear in the game. I was just at the bookstore, and they have some fresh drops over there at the bookstore. Some that you can't even get on their Branded Bills website, but there are other ones that you can't get in the bookstore that are only on the website. There's some like exclusives on both ends. You have to check out both for yourself over at brandedbills.com. Head on over there, use promo code BBPHNX and get 15% off your first order at brandedbills.com. Check out the best Arizona Wildcats headwear in the game. We're back here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Of course, we were talking a little Big 12. We got our guy Bees here in the chat, ASU fan, saying that he came to say hear what we had to say about the Randy Bennet hire for ASU, and sending some respect our way for keeping it real, as Kevin and I both think that it's a great hire for ASU in terms of realistically what their program could accomplish there.
Damon,
yes.
I'm laughing because I'm imagining Bees' AI dripped out B telling us this comment. Just came to see what Damon and Kevo had to say about the ASU hire, and they kept it real. Respect my guys.
It's by far my favorite avatar here in the chat. It's not even close. And of course, we love our guy Bees, even though he is an ASU guy, but he's an absolute legend in his own right. But yeah, I mean, you look at all these coaches, you look at Jerrod Calhoun to Cincinnati, you say that's a great hire for the Bearcats and getting their program back to the Mick Cronin levels of success that they came to enjoy in the past. And then you look at, just the conference in general, the elite coaches, top to bottom, Tommy Lloyd, Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self, these new guys that they bring in. And then there's Tad Boyle. What the hell is going on in Boulder, Colorado, Kevin? Because you're like, think about the what these schools are doing. Bobby Hurley's in the last year of his contract, and ASU's going like, man, I mean, I know, Bobby, you were here for 11 years. You won 0 real tournament games. You brought in some pretty good recruits for ASU standards, including, Shannon and Quaintance late on, and I think that bought him a little bit of time, right? And he just has the big pedigree name and everything. Tad Boyle hasn't done a damn thing in how long? When was the last time Colorado basketball was good? And he's just rotting away in Boulder. He used to be good 15 years ago. If you're a Colorado fan, you got to be looking at those two hires and just be sick to your stomach, right? Because you're like, we could have had Randy Bennet or Jerrod Calhoun, and I'm stuck with Tad?
Bro, you can't just say that and then stop talking and expect me to have an intelligible response, brother. That is hilarious, man. Oh, my. It's that meme where, the guy is watching the superhero movie with his girl, and, Wonder Woman's up there, and he looks at his girl and sighs. He's like... That's what Colorado fans must be doing, looking at Jerrod Calhoun and Randy Bennet coming to the conference, and they got to look at Colorado college basketball head coach, and a picture of Tad Boyle pops up, and they're like, Ozzy in the chat says they can't afford anyone because they're paying too much for Prime.
That's probably true, in including the NIL money that's going to Prime from the boosters. But as Sam says, they made the tournament in 22 and 23, and they won against Seton Hall by 1 in the first round. I mean,
yeah.
I don't really care. How long has Tad Boyle been the coach of Colorado, man?
Since 2010. He's had 6 tournament appearances.
And most of those came
16 years, 15 years?
Yeah, most of those came in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016. So in his first 6 years, he got 4 of those 6 tournament appearances, that's a great start. And that's when Colorado was respectable. But if I'm a Colorado fan, I could see why our friends at DNVR Buffs pretend basketball don't exist. because you got to cover Tad Boyle ball, man. That sucks.
Brian Edwards trying to bring us back down to earth, as per usual. Thank you, Brian, who says 5-4 against us, though. They do have a winning record. How many teams have a winning record against Arizona? Probably not that many. That's fair. But, look, I do think it is funny to look at Tad, what's that on his face? Oh, it's a boil, in comparison to some of these others. And think about, like, what Tad Boyle was at one point able to do. We're talking about a guy that was coaching Team USA at one point. This guy was a stud back in the day, but it's no longer back in the day. But, yeah, no, Brian, you're right. They have been able to put together some pretty good performances against Arizona in many ways. And Tad Boyle, as much as we like to make fun of him, he is quite capable as a head coach. But it's getting tough for him in this conference with the other cats that are coming in and the new hot young coaches coming into his conference. I know Randy Bennett's literally the same age as him, but you get my point about these guys that have done more recently. And you're like, okay, what have you done for me lately, Randy Bennett? Almost 500 against Arizona and 5 tournament appearances in 15 years. It's tough. It's definitely tough. And his last name is Boyle. That's also tough.
Yeah. I mean, he has a 5-4 record at home against Arizona. Let's be clear.
Yes.
He does not have a 5-4 record against Arizona overall. And yeah, that's impressive. A lot of teams don't have winning records even at their own home arena over the Cats, but I contribute a ton of that to the elevation in Colorado as well. I think Colorado has an inherent home court advantage with how high in the sky their stadium is and how people, kind of just bodies react to that, need to acclimate to the elevation. It's a huge advantage. Kevin, Utah on the KenPom rankings has like a top 10 home court advantage in all of college basketball, according to KenPom, like I said. And that's Utah. They get no fans that show up in the building because no one cares about basketball because their team is so bad. But their home court advantage is great because of how high the elevation is. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But he was very good against Arizona early on in his tenure at Colorado in particular. Not so much lately.
I'm grabbing something for the show here, Damon, that I just saw across my feed here on social media. It is ranking, and this is actually a good segue into our next topic. It is, because we're talking a little bit next about Tommy Lloyd and what he's been able to do in his first 5 years as a head coach, specifically in March. Now, I know that a lot of you in the chat might be like, well, he hasn't made an Elite Eight, and he hasn't made a Final Four, and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But I do think it's quite interesting that when you talk about some of the best coaches that are left in the NCAA tournament, it's kind of a who's who in so many ways. Like, you don't have very many Cinderella stories this year. We've talked about that off air, you and I, Damon, about how it is becoming kind of a lot more chalk these days. A lot more, what can you pay for your roster, and that will dictate how far you go in the tournament. Hell, just ask Mick Cronin. He'll tell you he might have won a national title if he got $5 more million. But I just saw this from known clickbaiters on Twitter, College Basketball Review. But this is just for conversation. I just thought it was wild. Matt Moldelinsky, I got it wrong, but Matt made his ranking of coaches in the Sweet 16. And Dan Hurley's 1, Kelvin Sampson 2, Rick Pitino 3, Tom Izzo 4, Dusty May 5, Nate Oates 6, Calipari 7, Painter 8, Tommy Lloyd 9, John Shire at 10, Rick Barnes at 11, Fred Hoiberg at 12, Otzelberger at 13, Miller 14, Underwood 15, McCollum 16. Damon, what is this list that I'm looking at?
I don't really mind the top 4. I think that there's a lot of respect being given to a guy that has 2 of the last 3 national championships,
yes.
A guy like Kelvin Sampson, who, as I've already said twice on this show, is doing it as better than anyone in college basketball right now. Rick Pitino, who could be potentially the greatest coach in college basketball history, and Tom Izzo, who's maybe right alongside him on that Mount Rushmore. I think that all of those are very worthy of being in their spots. You're splitting hairs with the elites of college basketball. But for me, John Shire and Tommy Lloyd gotta be 5-6 there.
Gotta be, right?
Gotta be 5-6 there.
Gotta be. That's the best way to put it. Number 9 and 10 need to be number 5 and 6. Everybody else can move on down accordingly.
I think Calipari could be higher. He's done it for a while. Matt Painter has had a ton of consistency, as much as people don't really respect Purdue. But
give me Cal over Oates and May. Respectfully.
Yeah.
Cal's been doing this for so long.
Dusty May being at 5 there is a disrespect to all coaches on that list.
It really is.
What is Dusty May? I know he has a Final Four at FAU, miracle Final Four run at FAU, but like he has not accomplished more in college basketball than Sean Miller has.
No,
not a chance.
No,
not a chance. Like I'm not saying that Sean Miller should be above Dusty May either. I'm just saying that like what is he done that is putting you in that class, because he's had a great regular season at Duke, but John Schuyler or at Michigan, but John Schuyler has great regular seasons at Duke every year. Tommy Lloyd has great regular seasons at Arizona every year. So why is Dusty May's regular season more important than the regular seasons of these other two coaches who have done it for more than just 2 years, right? So I don't know. I mean, that's the Dusty May thing all season long has been crazy to me, Kevin. I'm telling you, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he won Coach of the Year. I know that we've discussed that on this show, and like,
I'd be shocked.
You said that you'd be shocked.
I'd be shocked. I'll say it now.
Dude,
I'm not going to do the thing
stuff
what I do
all year long. It's been like written in the stars of like, oh, you haven't seen Michigan play basketball yet, and you're like, okay, man. Like, I really think that they want to give it to Dusty May. They love Dusty May. He's the people's coach, not this podcast's coach, but he's the media have anointed him.
He's certainly some people's coach for sure. He's some people's coach for certain. We can confirm that. But like, my thing is like, I'm not gonna do the thing that I usually do on this podcast, where I'm like, I'm never shocked. I'm just like, you're like, Kevin, isn't this shocking? And I'm like, I kind of get it when you think about it like this, whatever. If Dusty May won Coach of the Year, there's no way for me to come on here and be like, I'm not shocked, because I think it goes to Tommy Lloyd. I think it goes to John Shire. I think it goes to like 4 dudes before it goes to Dusty May.
I hope you're right. I just think that the media love fest with Dusty May has been out of control all season long. Pull up that list one more time, Kevin. I want to ask you a question. Looking at this list, what coaches are you taking over Tommy Lloyd?
In what context?
This is not.
In what context?
That's important. Understand the ranking and why Hurley would be above him and why Patino would be above him in Izzo. But like, I'm saying, like, right now, guy to lead your program. Are you? Is it literally just John Shire you're debating, and the rest of them you're just going Tommy?
So the question, just so I'm on the same page with you, is if I'm restarting a program, right? This is my list of resumes. Who am I calling first?
Yeah.
Woof. Kelvin Sampson's a little old.
He's too old.
Yeah, there's some of these guys that I would call before Tommy Lloyd, but they're a little bit too old, respectfully to all parties involved. I think my first call would be Tommy Lloyd. I think my second call would be John Shire. I think third call, man, see that the third call is where it gets really interesting.
For sure.
Because then it's like, okay, what style of program do you want to have? But I think, like, to answer your question more directly and not be here for waffling for 10 minutes, Tommy Lloyd, John Shire, those are my first 2 calls. Yeah, Tommy Lloyd, John Shire.
I think Hurley would be the third call, as much as maybe you don't love the antics. I think from an age standpoint, from a winning standpoint, that's probably the guy that would be the other person on that 3-man list there. But yeah, just a little. I'm looking at that list and I'm like, I get why Tommy wouldn't even be in the top 5 necessarily, but I also think you can make the argument that if you're starting random program X, that he might be the most single coveted coach in college basketball. So yeah, I mean, really interesting stuff. Of course, Arkansas's coach, Kevin, John Calipari, above Tommy Lloyd on that list because he's not so bad of a coach himself. He got a lot of history, a lot of accomplishments in his coaching career.
Man.
And, he's really, I think, done a great job at Arkansas. You know, despite kind of flaming out at Kentucky, I think that it was just time for both him and Kentucky to move on. He's been getting the better of Kentucky since he moved over to Arkansas, by no question about it. You know, Mark Pope and Kentucky are kind of a disaster, and in the 2 years at Arkansas for John Calipari, he made the Sweet 16 last year, and he makes it again this year. And now Arizona on the horizon, 28-8 this year. Kevin, 13-5 in conference, and then they of course won the SEC championship. It's gonna be a fun one, and big time coaching matchup. Is this do you think it's the best Sweet 16 matchup?
Let me pull them all up just so I'm not speaking out of my you-know-what here and just forgetting anybody, but I was talking to Ayrton about it earlier. I do think that this is the best Sweet 16 matchup, Damon. Arizona, Arkansas, Texas, Purdue, Michigan, Bama, Iowa State, Tennessee, Illinois, Houston, Michigan State, UConn, Duke, St. John's. I think Arizona, Arkansas is the best mix of like skill set, marquee must-see stakes, and like one of these teams could make a crazy run and do something here. But I just
St. John's
Duke St. John's is crazy. I think that's
pretty
what you're about
electric,
to say, right?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I was just going to say Duke St. John's is also electric, and as Sam says, UConn Michigan State is pretty damn good as well.
We're eating good, man. As a college basketball fan, we're eating very good right now. I mean, these matchups are star-studded. The quote, or not the quote, but the tweet that I grabbed, like the graphic from that coach list right there, it was saying, like, is this the most loaded coaching Sweet 16 we've ever seen? Like, is this the best coaches you've ever had in a Sweet 16? And it very well might be. Like, you have some legends in this Sweet 16. Now, you mentioned John Calipari, kind of stealing the swag from Kentucky and taking it to Arkansas with him. He's not only taking, like, the swag with him, he's taking the alum, man.
Wow.
Tyrese Halliburton tweeted this after Arkansas got the job done against Kentucky. Went to text the guys who played at Kentucky about this game and forgot they think they Arkansas alum now. Yeah. That's literally that is the best way to sum up Damon's point about, like, hey, ever since John Calipari left, Kentucky doesn't have the same swag. And it's really true. It feels like John Calipari was what was making Kentucky kind of run for a while there. And now that you got Mark Pope ball, it's just not the same. But yeah, I think when you're talking about Arkansas and Arizona, this is certainly one of the best matchups in the Sweet 16. It's certainly one of the best matchups you could have had potentially penciled in your bracket. Acuff versus Burries is going to be an absolute dogfight. Karchenkov on the perimeter against Meleek Thomas and Wagner and all those dudes. Krivas and Awaka trying to deal with the 6'10 athletic length of Trevin Brazil. That matchup is going to be absolute Karchenkov. And I do want to talk to Damon about Tommy Lloyd, John Calipari, and then get into some Arkansas to wrap up today's show on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So stick around, leave a like, do not go anywhere. Most importantly, drink your water. Damon, whether it's an old-fashioned, what? A Manhattan, what? A whiskey sour, what? A mint julep, or the penicillin, yes, these are all drinks that you need to make. You need whiskey to make. They're whiskey-based drinks. And if you're going to have some whiskey for this upcoming World Cup, whether you're going out there to a game or watching just from your home city, Buchanan's is the whiskey to choose. Rooted in London, this welcoming and bold spirit has made its way around the world, connecting cultures far and wide. I know, for one, whiskey has opened up my socialization a couple of times, and it does open you up to some fun conversations. You learn a whole lot. This social mixer is awesome with large groups, family, friends, and even coworkers. If you're heading to a fan fest or a game, be sure to try Buchanita, which is 1.5 ounce Buchanan's Deluxe, 4 ounce pineapple juice, easy to make and easy to drink. Damon knows me pretty well at this point. He knows I love pineapple juice as a mixer with my liquor, and this is one I will be sure to try. Be your own bartender, try to make it at home, and be on the lookout for U.S. men's national team watch parties this summer with Buchanan's. Whether you're at a favorite spot or stocking up at home, make it Buchanan's.
We're going to be doing some watch parties over here as well, and we hope that Buchanan's is involved because it just takes it up to an entirely new level, of course. I'm sure that they have some Buchanan's over at Circle K because they got everything at Circle K, Kevin. It's a great place for snacks. It's a great place for meal deals. It's a great place for all different types of alcohol and energy drinks as well. And if you're an Inner Circle Rewards member, you can get in on the savings that is right there in front of you. All types of fuel days, gas savings available, which we know in the Big 26 is so damn important with how expensive gas has gotten, especially here in the Valley. And even Tucson, Kevin. I was gassing up in Tucson. It was crazy, but thankfully I got an Inner Circle Rewards membership that saves me 5 cents per gallon off of every single gallon when I fill up at the tank and I put in my Inner Circle Rewards member number. That's because I'm a premium member. I have premium status. If you join, you'll get 3 cents off per gallon right away. But let me tell you, that threshold to get into the 5 cent is not very hard. Of course, that is before you get the 25 or after you get the 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, which is where the real savings comes and gets you. And then, of course, they have fuel days for 40 cents off all throughout the month. You just have to be on the lookout for those. So Circle K is trying to help you save money in a time where we all know that extra money is something that we need. Join that inner circle for free by downloading the brand new Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
Welcome on back to the AZ Wildcats podcast, where now we are finally talking Tommy Lloyd versus John Calipari. Damon and I were talking during our break about just how wild John Calipari's resume is. Damon, you said he had how many Final Fours in 5 years?
4 Final Fours in 5 years, Kevin.
From what years to what year?
2011 to 2015. He made it in 11, 12, 14, 15 at Kentucky.
And I was telling you, like, I was running into the office today like, ooh, I got a stat.
Skipping.
Ooh, I got a stat. Damon, I got a stat for you. Oh, my God. Hey, put that stat on the screen. Put that stat on the screen. There it is. Since the Sweet 16 officially began in 1975, only 2 other coaches have made the Sweet 16 in 4 of 5 seasons as a D1 head coach. Tommy Lloyd, Steve Lavin, and Steve Fisher. Now, I was pumped about this stat. Don't look at the win-loss record. We're actually just going to take it off the screen. But you get the point that Tommy Lloyd has made 4 Sweet 16s in 5 seasons at Arizona. And I do think that while John Calipari making 4 Final Fours in 5 years is certainly dramatically more impressive and honestly dramatically more unbelievable and improbable, I do think we should start this conversation by saying this. Tommy Lloyd has built an incredible foundation for himself at Arizona. He is building one of the all-time resumes, at least is on pace to do that. He's setting a blazing pace right now. Most wins in the first 5 seasons, check. Most wins against top-ranked teams in the first 5 seasons, check. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's doing it all except for making it to the Elite Eight in the Final Four. Damon, we've talked about it multiple times throughout the season. I just want to reiterate it before we get into this Arkansas conversation because they are the obstacle to what I'm talking about here. But heart of hearts, is this the year? Gun to your head, water gun to your head. Does Tommy Lloyd advance to his first Elite Eight this year?
Yes, but if you had put a gun to my head in the last 3, I would have also said the exact same thing, and I would have been shot and killed 3 separate times because I think that every one of these teams has been the favorite going into the game. We didn't know what we were getting into when we signed up for that Houston region in the West in 2021. But going into that game, I was like, Houston. They play in the American. Are you serious? These guys? And then I'm sitting there watching like this through the entire game being like, oh my God. I vastly underestimated Houston. Clemson, 1000% should have beaten Clemson. I mean, I say it all the time. That's the one that hurts me more than the Princeton loss. Not even a question. It makes me sick thinking about that Clemson game. And then of course, last year was extremely difficult as well. But yeah, you're right, Sam. I didn't think that Arizona was going to beat Duke. I thought Arizona had a chance of beating Duke if Caleb Love played the way he played.
Yes. If he came out Duke killer mode and nobody's stopping him.
And he was playing like that, yeah. So I got a bit of hope of like, oh, Caleb Love's about to send these boys packing. And then it was kind of, just a classic Duke performance of like, just out athlete, out physical, outsize Arizona, and we couldn't get a stop in that game. I think it was 100-93 final score. I think you could make the argument that that's kind of what Arkansas's game plan is against the Cats in this one, is we need Darius Acuff killer mode. Like, go out there and win us this game, bro, because that's the only chance we have is if you go out there and drop 30, drop 40 on Arizona, right? Because that team that we're going up against is so big, so physical, has so many pieces that can hurt you and be the guy that is the reason that your team goes night-night. And so I feel like we could be looking at a similar game, but you're right, Sam. I didn't say that for last year's game, but for the Clemson and Houston games, no question in the world, I would have been like, yeah, put the gun to my head because Arizona's going to get it done. And then you're watching the game and you're like, you never know what to expect in March.
You don't. The margins are so thin in March. And like I think Arizona's going to beat Arkansas. However, this is a team that could certainly defeat Arizona. Period. End of sentence. New sentence. Enter. Return. tab, new paragraph. I think that this Arkansas team is the offensive juggernaut that can certainly upset an Arizona squad if the threes aren't falling, if maybe Jaden Bradley can't get going from the mid-range, if you're struggling like you did against Utah State for long stretches. Arkansas has shown that they're not going to have those same offensive struggles. Now, they have not really played a defense like Arizona's, at least not in quite some time, right? And I think that Arizona is going to present challenges to Darius Acuff that he has not yet seen this year. I think that dude's an absolute killer. I think he's an absolute dog. He is not a guy that I would ever want to play one-on-one with in any type of setting. Even if I was a hooper, I want to avoid Darius Acuff at all costs. He seems like a killer. And tangentially, I add this, and Damon, I know you will get with me on this one. He's getting the Allen Iverson cosign right now, like in this moment. Can we wait on that? Can we push that back? Can we push hey, this is Allen Iverson's guy in the draft class? Can we push that back until after Arizona has already eliminated him from March Madness and not part of some crazy story that he's trying to write? I'm good on all that. But I do think that this is a team that could upset Arizona if they don't come out and play their A game. But they do play their A game quite often. And I do think that they can get it done. If they are going to get it done, though, Damon, they're going to have to utilize some of Arkansas's strengths and weaknesses to their benefit. And let's start with those weaknesses, Damon. Pretty simple. Defense, defense, and defense. This Arkansas team plays zero defense, man. They have the 207th worst defensive rating per college basketball analytics.
Yikes.
And if you look at their opponents' graph, like for those that don't use college basketball analytics, it's a website that has a bunch of stats, and it looks kind of like this. And you have a bunch of green boxes and a bunch of red boxes. And when you look at the opponent's stats side, all opponents' offense for Arkansas's defensive ratings, red boxes. Just bad. Just bad,
Not
bad,
good.
bad, not very good at all. The offense for Arkansas, though, I don't think I've ever seen a more deeper green in my life. They are an offensive juggernaut, but the defense is certainly not there. Darius Acuff, for everything that he is on the offensive side of things, he is not that necessarily on the defensive side of things. It is a lot to ask him to do, in theory, to be that offensive juggernaut and then to also be Jaden Bradley on the other end. So I'm not saying that it's a realistic thing to ask Acuff to be a two-way demon monster who can also close games for you as a freshman. But in Arizona's context here, it's very, very beneficial that Darius Acuff is not a lockdown defender, that Arkansas as a team does not play incredible defense. And as American Santa Cruz says in the chat, defense travels and offense doesn't always travel. This game is not being played in Arkansas. Arkansas is going to have to bring the three-point shooting. They're going to have to bring the offensive consistency to a neutral site. Arizona's proven time and time again, neutral site, hell on asphalt, San Diego, Texas, Connecticut, Tucson. It does not matter where the game is played. That defense is showing up.
Double rims,
no baselines, no out of bounds. Tobe Awaka just wrestling dudes for 100 feet, getting the board, sprinting it back, passing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this team will play anywhere. Their defense travels, and that's why I think Arizona can win this game, is by presenting Arkansas with challenges they have not yet seen this year offensively. And as we get into their strengths real quick, and we are going to have that preview video dropping here about 6 p.m., so stick on this YouTube channel for that. But team strengths, they're an offensive powerhouse. Like, this team can score the ball. Here are some quick stats for you. They have the third best offensive rating in D1, the 8th best field goal percentage in D1, the 10th best three-point percentage in D1, although they don't shoot a ton of threes, the 17th best true shooting percentage, the second most fast break points in Division I, the second most paint points in Division I, and the second most points scored per game in Division I. They are a potent offensive opponent. Their guard play is off the charts. Darius Acuff, Meleek Thomas, DJ Wagner. If you're going to upset a team in March, you need some top-end guard play. Arkansas has it packed to the gills. And then last but not least, ball security. They are the best in terms of taking care of the ball. They have the best turnover percentage in all of D1, the 9th best turnover per game number, and their assist-to-turnover ratio is the 3rd best in Division I. And it's because of that guy in the photo, Darius Acuff, who on any night could give you 11 assists and no turnovers. Arizona's going to have to turn him over at least 2 or 3 times at a minimum in this one. And Brian, no, you're right. Brazil can make it really hard on their bigs. But that's something we're going to have to get to a little bit more in the weeds with the preview. But I agree with you, right? The bigs are going to have an issue, not an issue, but they're going to have a challenge dealing with Brazil's versatility and his athleticism. I think of him as like not the same style of player, but like in terms of the same style of athlete as like a Flory Badunga, who's like, he can get up, he can get back. He's long enough to contest you on a three. He's lengthy and quick enough to block your shot on a pick and roll if you're not quick enough to the rim with it. So yeah, Brazil's going to be a huge question mark in this one. But in terms of strengths and weaknesses, Damon, that's what I got for you today.
Yeah, I think Arkansas is a unique team in the way that they play basketball. Obviously, we knew when we got this bracket, this region, that it was the no defense region, other than Arizona, obviously, because this Arizona defense is elite. But like you were looking at the teams that were the top competition for the Cats, and it's Gonzaga who had a good defense, but I think that we all kind of knew were somewhat fraudulent, like not a Gonzaga team that was instilling any fear in anyone this year, despite their 3 seed. Purdue, Wisconsin, and Arkansas, horrible defenses for the seeds that they were given, right? Like on average, those seeds are, significantly better in the defensive rankings than what each of those teams is giving you. And so it's kind of a weird stylistic mashup for an Arizona team, but someone mentioned it up here in the chat, like, what did Arkansas look like when they played against Florida? Which I think is a good comparison there, because yes, Florida is, from an SEC standpoint, unless I'm forgetting someone, Kevin, the only team that can kind of match stylistically to what Arizona does. Yeah. They have, I'm a huge Zabian Lee hater, but they have a guard duo that they, got a lot of hype going into this year. Boogie Fland is a pretty damn good player, and Zabian Lee, he picked it up at the end of the year and cooked their season, but not horrible. You have a guy like Chinalu, who's a great rebounder, kind of like Arizona's bigs. Thomas Houck and Alex Condon are unbelievable front court players with a ton of size. That game ended 111-77, and now it was at Florida, right? That makes a huge factor there, but skunked them. I mean, embarrassing type of loss that you took there. Couldn't get a stop against Florida in that size, in that front court, right? And Condon had 17, Haug had 22, Fland had 14, Chinalu had 12 and 16 rebounds, Kevin.
Waka.
16 rebounds.
I need
By
you,
God,
Tobe.
That's Tobe Awaka's music that I'm hearing right now. And Trevin Brazil, 4 fouls in that basketball game.
Yeah.
3 points in 25 minutes because clearly he was battling foul trouble. So I think that Brian Edwards is absolutely right. Get Trevin Brazil in foul trouble and make Darius Acuff's life a living hell. He's going to get his. We know he's going to put points on the board. But, run 2 guys at him all the time. Trap him. Show some full court pressure on him. If you can spare any bit of that energy, throw a little Jaden Bradley 94 feet on him. That's not going to feel good. That's not going to make him less tired or help him catch his breath. I think that's the type of game plan Arizona needs to have, and I think things are going to be just fine. Like drive at Brazil, make Darius Acuff work extremely hard for the points that he is assuredly going to get.
Man, I love when our chat just breaks out into absolute basketball talk. I love this. We're breaking down what the bigs need to do on defense in the chat. I love you, chat. Keep talking basketball out there. Ernesto, speaking my language, Aristode breakout defense game. Come on, talk to me nice, Aristodians. Stand up. Be at weight on call for this upcoming game. Like any game now could be the Aristode breakout game. Any game. We only got a couple left. Aristode, I need 30. I'm kidding. But yeah, Roberto says, I think Aristode actually needs to play a little bit more. And I don't know. I think like you'll get mixed responses if you ask the whole Arizona fan base, like should Aristode play more? I feel like he plays outstanding defense. I think he continues to get better every time he's out there on the court. But when we spoke to Saul right after the Long Island game, Saul said he did not feel like Aristode played his best game against Long Island. He did not feel like Aristode really warranted a ton of extra minutes. So I do think that while Aristode has a lot of room to grow, he's not quite there yet in terms of like, all right, let's send him out there against some of these big dogs in the NCAA tournament and see what he's made of. Now is not the time for that. I think we had just about 40 games to see what Dwayne Aristode was made of. And I think we know for this year, all intents and purposes what Dwayne Aristotle is capable of, and he's capable of some spot-up threes, some strong defense, in spurt minutes, and that is that. My guy Jacob Spalding in the chat says, dare other guys than Acuff and Thomas to make shots. I agree with you. I'll talk to Spalding off air about this, but I'm sure he's going to love that Amari Brown kid that you were telling me about. The kid that Arkansas that looks like 42 Doug.
That's my best friend.
And
Meleek, he my best friend.
And is practically the chat. Do you guys know about this? Arkansas has a mascot on the team. No. He's not a hog. He's not a Razorback, guys. Don't be mean. He's literally the mascot, though. They bring in Meleek Thomas, who is, I believe, from Pittsburgh, PA. And on his team was a 3-star point guard by the name of Amari Brown. And you're looking at the roster, you're like, okay, 5-star, okay, 4-star, 3-star, 3'2" point guard.
250 pounds.
What is Cal cooking with Amari Brown? And then you get to watch some content on Arkansas, and they're like, yeah, they're not even hiding it. And I love that. They're just keeping it real. They're like, hey, man, Amari, personality pick. He is a great guy, Hall of Fame, nice guy, university. What did he say in the video? Like, what did Coach Cal say? Hey, Amari, his job, if you're having a bad day, go pick that guy up.
Yeah.
If that guy's having a bad day, Amari, tell him a joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If Acuff looks a little sluggish, go get that boy a coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go get that guy a Nas. You know what I mean?
He's like the intern. He's the team intern.
But no, yeah, he does bring all the vibes, and he does look like 42 Doug. So we will be having that conversation off air.
Should we show him?
Yeah, we need to show him. We need to show the man, the myth, the legend, the Amari Brown.
He is him.
He is him.
So he got SEC all community service team this year. So that's
genuine respect for that.
That's big time
that
for our guy Amari Brown.
We joke about Amari Brown, but I will say if you're going to get that opportunity to have that type of platform, do something positive with it. And so I'm happy that he's out in the community putting smiles on people's faces, just like he's putting smiles on people's faces at practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's him.
I love it.
Kevin, I'm dropping these pictures here in the chat so that we could get a good look at our guy Amari Brown here. But yeah, there's a great piece of content on his Instagram. It's like front and center if you guys go look for it, where he's out there and they do like this like in Hogs Insiders thing, and they just interview him. And yeah, as Kevin said, like there's like a part where they're like, if someone's on the ground, like Amari gonna help him up. Amari, and then they get to talking to Amari, and he's like, yeah, like shout out Meleek. Him and Coach Cal got me this opportunity here, and I'm just thrilled to be here at Arkansas for such a great program. And I will say that like I wanted to hate on it a bit more, but the fact that like he's so like heavily leaning into like, no, this is what happens.
He's just a nice guy. He's just a nice guy.
I'm like that's kind of cool. I respect that to an extent of like
we're poking fun, but he seems like a good guy.
He does seem like a good guy.
Like we're not hating on him. We're poking fun at him, but we're not hating on him. And I think that's an important
We need an Amari Brown on our team. Man.
We have one. His name is Bryce James, and he's way better.
Come on, don't put Bryce in that same category.
No, I'm saying Bryce gets us Caleb Holt to the squad, and you know what I mean. So, bang. There he is. There is Amari Brown.
42 Doug.
42 Doug himself. 42 Doug. But no, I wanted to say that because I do think Bryce James is in like a similar boat of like 3-star recruit who is not of the skill level to play with the team that he's on, but he can help you recruit.
Yeah.
But he can keep the vibes up. But like, you know what I mean? Like, but sure. Like, I think that,
I hear you.
Like, I'm not saying that like
Amari Brown was a 3-star recruit too. Let me add.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not necessarily like calling somebody a mascot is like you are nothing. You're a bad guy and you suck. It's kind of just like, hey man, you're not good enough to get in the lineup, but like you bring the vibes, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're a good teammate, right? So
I will say that's gonna leave a mark. Says that boy parties a little too hard. I was just scrolling his Instagram, Kevin, and not too long ago, man, he was playing high school football, and he was, let me tell you, much thinner than what we're looking at in that picture. Like that second picture, like he's looking pretty robust for a 5'9" guard.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. I mean, I don't know nothing about that, but interesting development.
I think he's putting on a little freshman 15 or something.
Is it Amari or is it Amiri?
I think it's Amari.
Amere Brown? Amiri? I don't know. Either way,
he's a legend.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, he's a. You know what? Cue
Amir.
Cue the Braden Burry sounder.
He's a dog, honestly.
He's a dog, honestly. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, for more Arkansas preview, tap in with our VOD. I'm going to be recording this right after we get off air here pretty soon. Probably around 4 o'clock I'll record it, get it up to the YouTube channel by 6 p.m. So be on the lookout for that. I'll have more on Arkansas. Brian, real quick, with another topic here in the chat. Does anyone want to say it out loud? ADO got kind of lit up on defense last night against Utah State. We talked about it on the post game, right? Like, it was not Delly's best game last night. In fact, it was one of his worst of the season in terms of defense. And I guess you could argue offense, but he had a couple turnovers there as well. But, yeah, not his strongest night. He's going to have to get back after it against Arkansas. And we talked about it on the post game, but I think he has shown this season to deserve a little bit of faith in what he can bring to the table in big games. You know what I mean? UCLA, Houston, and it's no problem, Brian. But UCLA, Houston, like these big games, Delly steps up. And I think he's also shown a propensity to go up and down. He's not just been up, he's been down as well. So I think we're going to get at least a couple more up games from ADO before we get a down one. Damon, do you have any extra thoughts on ADO before we get out of here?
I mean, yeah, I think that, that was a game where we're going to have to monitor moving forward, unfortunately, whether or not he belongs out there on the floor. Like, if Acuff is just NBA style calling for switches and getting ADO on him every possession, that's a disaster waiting to happen for Arizona. And Delly better be better on offense if that's the case, because he wasn't great on offense. And we know that he's not going to be like a stopper on defense. I think that this year has been like a revelation in terms of what you expected versus, what you got. Like, he has been able to stay on the floor, which is godsend, and for his ability to be out there on the floor. But he ultimately is an offensive engine for this team. And if he's going to be turning the ball over like he did at the end of the game yesterday, or, missing shots, not really hitting threes, he did have the 1 3 that Kevin forgot about. It's
I did.
I do think that he just needs to hit his shots and show his ability to kind of raise the offense if he's going to be out there on the floor. So we're going to see what that looks like versus Arkansas. Be also interesting to see if Dwayne Aristode gets more run against Arkansas, because as many people in the chat are talking about right now, it seems to be the talk of kind of the fan base. If you're just tuning into our chat, like,
Aristodians, come on!
The Aristodians are up in arms.
We're about to cause a revolt, dude.
Grab your pitchforks, grab your torches, and we're storming down the Alchemy Arena. We will never storm down McHale Center, but we'll storm down Alchemy Arena because, we need more Dwayne Aristode minutes in our life, and I think Dwayne earned a little bit more than what he got last game. There was also a point that Brian Edwards made up there about Dwayne being more disciplined on defense than Karchenkov. And I do think that part of that is something that Kevin has been touching on this season, which is when Karchenkov knows he has a Lithuanian giant behind him in Mo Krivas.
Don't forget Lithuania, beautiful this time of year.
Yes, visit Lithuania. But like I think that he's so aggressive in the passing lanes, not only because he's so good at getting involved in the passing lanes, but also because he does feel like he has that safety net behind him. Does that change with, as something else Brian Edwards mentioned, Brazil maybe moving Krivas out of the paint and getting him away from affecting shots at the rim a little bit more so, and being on the perimeter? And now, does that mean that Karchenkov has to kind of tone it back, be a little bit more disciplined, not go for those big steal plays where you can get out on transition and stay home more so? So I think that part of that is because he feels comfortable doing that because of how good Krivas is. But I do hear that point.
And then Need Down says, 3 minutes when Delly is just getting destroyed is inexcusable from Tommy. And I think that this is kind of something that Tommy Lloyd is a reason, partially why his players love him so much, is that he does not give his guys an incredibly short leash just based off of one bad performance or one bad set of plays, right? Like, if you are like Delly was in the middle of the season and you're struggling every game, right, and it not necessarily showing any sign of letting up, he will kind of temper your minutes back. You're losing what you've earned. But all these dudes that have gotten minutes earned them in Tommy Lloyd's eyes. So they're going to have to, I guess, earn a loss of minutes. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to do stuff over the course of time to lose those minutes.
I want my players to, figure it out, coach, more than about just about anybody in college basketball. They asked him yesterday about the press and how he felt Arizona dealt with that. And for essentially the first 20 seconds of the answer, Kevin, he's sitting there just being like, I just, I want my guys to work through that kind of stuff, and he just, it's just, that's how he approaches many situations, but particularly when teams are putting pressure on Arizona, I think he wants to see them kind of figure it out on their own. And there are times where I don't love that style, but that's who Tommy Lloyd is. That's why we're in this program is in the position that it is right now. So I think you live and die by it a little bit. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting thing to monitor here.
Before we get out of here, I want everybody to like this stream. I want at least 60 likes before we end today's show. Damon, do we have anything else you wanted to talk about before we get on out of here? It kind of sucks. I have Bracky right behind me, as you see on the wall. Like, it's kind of stinky that we don't have any games today. Well, I think we were talking about this in the Discord, Die Hard Discord. Woke up today, went and looked for games, saw nothing. Just out of instinct, I knew there weren't games today, but just out of instinct, you go, oh, what's the 9 o'clock tip?
Is there like an NIT game?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I was looking in the NCAA.
The Crown?
I was looking in the NCAA tournament tab.
Can I get a Crown game, please? Can I get Randy Bennett's Sun Devils playing in the Crown?
We do have the women's tournament going on, but I'm talking about in terms of things that relate to Arizona men's basketball. We don't have much to relate to.
Could you imagine Randy Bennett and Jerrod Calhoun taking over both of those programs and just going straight into Crown basketball with teams that they did not recruit and have nothing to do with? That would be cinema appointment television, Kevin. I'm sitting down watching that and gambling on every game because you would have zero idea what to expect. It'd be electric.
It would be completely electric.
Jerrod Calhoun with Baba Miller? Come on.
What day is it today? Monday? I don't think there's anything on. Not even NIT, not even CBC, not CIT. Nah, CBI. Wait, what day of the week is it, bro? No, look, we got nothing. We got nothing, chat.
It's a dark day. Nothing. It's a dark day in the world of college basketball.
No men's college basketball today. That's okay. We got women's college basketball, and we get back to Arizona basketball on Thursday. Let's get out of here, Damon.
Absolutely. We're going to be previewing Arizona versus Arkansas all throughout the rest of the week until we hit that Thursday, and then we're going to be giving you pregame, watch-along, post-game coverage of Arizona's Sweet 16 matchup versus Arkansas. Can Tommy Lloyd in Arizona finally break through to that Elite Eight hurdle hump, you name it, that is so English is hard.
Elusive?
Been so elusive. That's a great word for it, Kevin. Thank you, sir. In the opening years of the Tommy Lloyd tenure. So we're going to be talking about that and breaking it down all throughout the rest of the week. Like I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, regularly scheduled 2 p.m. showtimes, and then pregame coverage starts at 6:15 p.m. on Thursday. Appreciate everybody for watching this one. Shout out my guy, Kevin Thomas. Follow him at KevoPost. Follow me at Damon Dog. Follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on all social media, except for TikTok, where we are at AZ Wildcats Pod. We love you guys. We thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. And until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Congratulations to Pima Community College women's basketball. Bro, we're talking about the NJCAA champs, baby. Bringing it home. Is it maybe what could happen with the men's in Arizona? Let's find out.
We all silly like the mayor.